Good afternoon to everyone that is joining us today. My name is Annie Yang, and I will be the moderator for this session titled Libraries, the Human Intelligence Behind Artificial Intelligence. Before I introduce our speakers, I'd like to begin with a few reminders. We do have a code of conduct, which you all have been hearing about for the past few days. If you have any questions related to issues with accessing Gale, we also have an email that you can use to contact our team. We're really good with that email right now. We also have a Discord as well, so join the conversation there. I will share the link to the code of conduct as well as that email in the chat in just a second. Please be sure to keep your microphones muted until the end of the presentation. If you have any comments, please feel free to post that in the chat. If we have time towards the end, we will also have, we'll be able to ask Bernadette some questions as well. And you can post those questions in the Q&A, but either or, I will be monitoring. This session is being recorded as well, and the recording will be available after the presentation on the schedule page. You can also enable captions by clicking on the Show Captions button at the bottom of your screen. So, without further ado, let me introduce Bernadette Taylor. Bernadette is a dental hygienist with a master's in library and information science from Florida State University, bringing expertise in both healthcare and information science. Passionate about bridging the gap between healthcare and library science to improve information access, research support, and education. So please again help me in help me in welcoming Bernadette.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for coming. This is my first time doing anything like this, so bear with me. The topic, as Anna mentioned, is about the importance of the human intelligence behind the artificial intelligence that is taking over a majority of the fields right now in healthcare and education. Everybody in some part of the country is using it in some way. But first, let me give you a little bit more details on me. Who dis? Dis me, Bernadette Taylor. You're probably wondering, why is a dental hygienist talking to people about libraries and has a degree in library and information science? And like Anna had mentioned, I really want to bridge that gap between medical, dental, and information access. In the dental world, I feel like as a clinician, we're very pinpointed, we're very, very tunnel visioned onto one thing. And sometimes that we don't always learn so much by being locked into one thing. So I tend to dabble into other different parts of medicine and dental science and dental theory. And then it led me to the degree of information science. It seemed like an excellent way for me to get my foot in the door to do research and also to have the chance to someday work as a health science librarian in academia, but also mainly just to teach. So I did dental hygiene. Well, I still do dental hygiene clinically. And I was given the opportunity to be a lead librarian at Kaiser University after I got my master's. And then I became a dental hygiene professor at Lincoln Memorial University in Tennessee. And that's honestly where I saw a lot of the AI incorporated with education. Either, I shouldn't say incorporated, it was sort of discussed and sort of either hated or really, really appreciated. And I'm sure a lot of you have come across that as well. They're either on one side of the fence for AI or the other. So like I was saying, my goal is just to bring us all together on information. So why consider this presentation? This is not so much a presentation as it is an open discussion for me and for you to explore how libraries and AI must work in tandem. A lot of people are noticing that we've lost so many of the funding opportunities for our libraries and our centers and our positions. And I think those jobs are getting replaced too quickly, thinking or assuming that AI can be the one-all be-all of information. But that's not the case. Like cogs in a clock, we all got to work together on this. It can't be one side or the other, because going forward, we need each other. And when I say we, is the libraries and AI need each other. So AI systems, the best thing about them, as we all know, or maybe don't, is that they can generate so much content, but no one really knows if that content is reliable. I'm sure there are people who've typed in something, got a good definition for a simple concept, but as things get more advanced, Chat, GPT, OpenAI, it says it can break it down for you, but is it actually giving you the correct knowledge? And how do we decipher that, or who deciphers that? Libraries. So as I wrote, or as mentioned in the beginning, this AI is a form of information retrieval, but it lacks ethics. It lacks discernment. Librarians bridge the gap. And so the question is, how can we all work together and sort of find a way to coexist? So libraries were the first large language models. And you may be asking, if you don't know what that is, it's basically a software that is designed to bring or curate information for humans. Let's just a really weird basic explanation of it. So in an analog world, or the Dewey Decimal cataloging, that was the first large language models. Those were the times when people were trying to catalog information, organize it, and bring it to a user. AI is doing the same thing, but with a big difference. Like I said, it can generate information quickly, but it doesn't mean it's doing it responsibly. So this brings us to the topic of information literacy. I think moving forward, if we're going to expand our use and our incorporation with AI, we have to include information literacy as part of that component in teaching students, anyone of any age, before they even begin to start to use chat or any type of prompts. So that brings us to the next one. The other problem with AI, it's only as good as the prompt and the question you put in it. So as specific as you can be, and again, this comes back to the large language models or vocabulary, can clients use the right words to get the answers that they need or want? They may type in something general, but it'll be too general. They might type in something so specific, but chat would give them something similar, but they wouldn't actually know if that was the truth, if they weren't an expert on the topic. And so our role is more important than ever. So where do libraries come in? They help discern information. I'm going to keep drilling that in because this is a discussion for people, not just in the library world, but also those outside of it, so that they understand the importance of our position. So like we were saying, the errors that can come from it, they're called hallucinations. And what that is in AI, it can bring up fake legal cases, cases that were either partially true in certain court documents, but not be entirely true. And then you're presented with this information that sort of skews the results or the product of what you're trying to create. So a great example for that right now is New York Times is or was and still is suing Microsoft and OpenAI. So what happened with the lawsuit? It's still ongoing, but the things that's coming out of this lawsuit is that it's covering a lot of hurdles that we didn't encounter or think about with AI and content. And also content meaning from the creator's perspective of legal issues. You know, are we allowed to take information from the internet just randomly, store it, share it, and use it? In a way, libraries do that, but we give credit where credit is due with the biographies, with the documentation, with the cataloging. When certain companies have taken information without any sort of understanding of it or wondering or knowing where it came from, you're actually kind of stealing information from other people without giving them credit. So the New York Times suing AI or OpenAI and Microsoft, it helps because it helps deal with the issue of content without permission. And again, in a library setting, we would not have to address this as much. Our information is documented. Anything going in, going out, heavily regimented. We need it that way to give the journalism, to give the authors their right in privacy and credit for the work that they've done. So why do we even bring this matter up? And again, it comes back to the ethics of AI, the information literacy and the ethics. So we know what type of information we're getting, and then do we understand where it's coming from? This also comes back with peer-reviewed articles, writing references. Those things will still be needed for future work. And a lot of the people who are misusing AI do not understand that or are getting the wrong sort of work references given to them. I can't tell you how many times I've looked at it with students where I've checked the references and that reference does not exist, but it was given to them from chat. And let's see, so how do libraries and librarians help? Well, basically, libraries defend information integrity. So just like the New York Times, the library serves as a local and global defender for credible information. And nowadays, it is just too easy to dig up an answer and sort of make it up and to make it sound true. But let's see if we can find a way to teach people to decipher that. And that is a question I have for you guys. And you don't have to answer this now, but what have you found as the most helpful tool, whether that be online or offline, to decipher whether or not you're getting something from a student or something for yourself as real information? I mean, other than having to dig back, go through and do mountains of research to find out where the link is from or where the source is from, is there anything that you notice right away or pick up from it? Locations that you know to avoid? Those type of questions I'm interested in, if you guys could share that with us at some point. And let's see. So what can we do also to help students and users is there are AI workshops that people are creating. These workshops have been great for, again, creating information literacy and also curating resources and creating a safe space for people to use these tools and also to learn from their mistakes in a way that we can oversee that and sort of let them know, okay, this is the path we're going when you don't know what you're looking up. And this is what results in that. And so not just that the student or user realizes, oh, I got the wrong answer, but they know how they got that wrong answer is the most important part. So libraries are champions for ethical use and fair access. I'm just going to say it, we're champions. The New York Times is protecting its intellectual property while licensing it is a form of responsibility. Libraries do the same thing. We ensure the content is accessed ethically, it's sourced, it's cataloged. And as AI models absorb more of this information, the libraries will be advocating for policies that respect creators' rights while also protecting the rights of the public to learn as well. So information to access. So what else can we do? This comes back to what I was mentioning earlier. Libraries and librarians can offer literacy programs. Universities can do this as well. Basically anything that teaches a person or user how to decipher through the crap online, basically. And then by doing that, we can also create a position for ourselves in an age where AI is taking over. And like I was mentioning earlier, a lot of people not in the library world believe that AI replaces everything. It replaces us. When in truth, as AI grows, so will we need to grow, and we will, in order to help decipher. So ethical stewardship needs human values. That comes back to, the AI will spit out a lot of information to you, but it won't exactly understand the reasoning behind why you're asking it or the purpose, the actual generalized purpose. It can give you a black and white answer like a math problem, but sometimes a human component is always going to be needed at some point along the way. And again, that could be done over the internet, that could be done over text, that could be done through email. It doesn't mean that you have to have a face-to-face encounter, but it does mean that you cannot just use the AI as your only speaking soundboard, per se. So managing AI generated content, libraries fact check, curate, and refine AI material. So the examples is that, like I was saying, the information literacy workshops with universities. And about right now, one of the statistics I found was that 60% of academic librarians are involved in AI literacy. That's 60% throughout the United States. It's a lot. It's a pretty big number when you think about it. But again, are the users taking advantage of this opportunity? So AI and libraries working together. Basically, AI processes the data. Libraries and librarians ensure accuracy. Libraries use AI. We are going to have to use it for our own methods of cataloging, machine learning, but we do it with a human oversight. So conclusion and call to action. AI is a tool, it's not a replacement for libraries or librarians. Libraries must adapt AI responsibly while preserving knowledge integrity. And the call to action is advocate for AI literacy initiatives. Those programs are going to be huge for us. By explaining that to your department head, manager, city council, it helps them understand more about that the library is not just this infrastructure that's no longer part of the community or seen as like a community hub, but it's a place to decipher all this information and basically the avalanche of knowledge coming out. We need to position the libraries as AI ethical leaders. because people always wonder about the ethics of AI. Well, we have a human component right here already. And then collaborate with AI developers for more responsible information management, meaning the software programmers are very good at their job at putting information into the code, but having someone on our side or from our side to explain to them what exactly the code is going to do for a user. I mean, what it really will do for them, give them an answer or give them the answer that they actually need. So that human component again comes into it from our side of the field. And that's the PowerPoint slides that I have. And I wanted to open up to an open discussion now for anybody who wants to ask a question or had an input or about any of the topics I mentioned, because I'm very curious about what you've encountered, good and bad. Where am I?
All right. So for anybody who would like to speak up, you can go ahead and just raise your hand, and I can unmute you, and you can share your thoughts. All righty. So let me go ahead and okay, Angela, feel free to unmute yourself, and you can ask your question or share your thoughts.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. I am well, just had a name change. I am the digital information librarian here at Northeast Lakeview College. It's a 2-year academic college. Um, Basically, I used to be the OER librarian, but with all of this AI stuff coming in, I figured I needed to kind of expand out OER. My biggest concern right now is um, I've got a lot of students that are interested in using AI. They understand that the policy, kind of district policy, is don't use AI at all in any of your classes unless your professor says it's okay. I have so the students are ready and willing to experiment and try and see and explore. My problem is my faculty are very reluctant to do that. I have some that have kind of embraced this, and we are in collaboration with them are creating assignments for the students so that they at least have a chance. My feeling is the students are going to get out there into the real world. They're going to find this stuff. If we don't empower them now to experiment and try and fail, true, they're going to go out into the real world, and that's where they're going to do it, and that's going to cause them issues with their employer. And I don't want to see that happen to our students. So I'm trying to engage the faculty into at least opening up their ideas, their minds, and saying, we know it's out there. What can we do to explore? I want to try and create some kind of introduction videos, tutorials for our faculty so that they can get exposure to this. I think that's mainly the thing is that there's not enough time in their world to do that exploration and find kind of those nifty apps or uses that would make amazing things happen in their classrooms. That's my comment.
Thank you, Angela. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
That's a very good point you bring up. That's why I mentioned, sometimes you're going to have to talk to your managers or colleagues, about bringing this technology into an academic setting. And it's either, sometimes it's like it's either the old world versus the new world. And it really depends on the majority of the mindset of the board of the people you're working with. But there is a fear in it. Like, and you already know that they have this fear. They're saying, we can't tell if the students are using it appropriately. Did they actually write it? Threatening the students with the, I know a program I can send it through, only works for so long. I found that the students eventually, that you always have that one that writes a paper that for some reason, I know they don't write like that. I read the language. I'm like, I know you don't sound like this on a daily basis. So there's always going to be that one student. But when it comes to working with the coworkers, I agree with you, the intro videos, but also showing them anything, if you can find any statistics or articles that someone who's also incorporated it in their job similar to yours and how it's benefited them. Like, there must be some sort of statistic out there where this person saw a great increase in something, production, productivity, student engagement, or maybe giving the school a trial period and say, hey, let's try this for 3 months. We'll do it this way. We will let the students use XYZ, only those three. And then from there, you can sort of try to manage it a little bit more and then get familiar with what it looks like when it's in the full student's realm. Because I can guarantee you, even though you tell the students not to do it, they're going to use it in some way. It's hard to avoid. So it's either you turn a blind eye to it and try to pretend it's not out there, or you just have to embrace it. And I know it sounds like you're trying to embrace it. And I know you definitely can with this board, but maybe giving them a trial period, and so that they won't sort of shoot it down entirely. That's an option. Just wanted to say that.
Thank you.
Mhm. Thank you for stopping. I have some questions in the Q&A, I noticed.
Yeah. So we have a question from Nishan, and hopefully I said that name correctly. How do you help people with clarity and clarifying questions with AI?
Yeah, that's a very good question. A lot of it is a lot of it is a process, really, where if I'm trying to search something, I don't get it on the first few prompts. I have to sort of keep on writing it in and narrowing it down, sort of like whittling down the question. Even if it's a simple question like, why do they make carburetors a shape that they do? Or why is a chair shaped the way that it is? It's something like, it's a physics-based question, but I say I want to learn something more about the material and the actual integrity of it. You find that those questions come out of you, the more you whittle down that question and the more prompts you write. So in a way, you're learning it as well as you go through it and sort of seeing the answers that it's giving you, because you'll be like, nah, that's not what I'm looking for. So just keep on prompting into it, keep on running it through and trying to decipher through all that sort of information about what it is you're looking for. But I'll be honest, it's a little bit of a process. Like I said, it takes a few times to really figure it out of how you want to prompt it. Because you can be very specific and still not really get the answer that you need because the program only knows the language a certain way. Does that make sense?
Alrighty. We have another question from Kevin.
Hmm.
It's a long one, so I think there's a really interesting flip here from our sort of traditional view of librarians as the champions of free information, Deweyist in a modern context anyway, to librarians as advocates for the control of information. Do you see this as a major change in our role or a logical development?
Good question. Um, I think it's a progression. It's a progression I hope that our field goes to, because we started in the libraries and that was such a one sort of unit bubble type of place. And you had the archivists and you had all the information there at your fingertips. And now it's all over the internet. So having a way to control that information and putting the reins back on us and giving us the opportunity to have that control, I think would help decipher information as it goes along. Because more information is always going to be out there. But again, we don't have a position or a company or like a subset of the government to regulate it. Not that I know of anyhow. No one's really out there checking, fact checking for the information. And it's like what Angela was saying, some people, we just don't have the time. We just get really busy and we really just need an answer now. So putting that responsibility on us, I think would help improve our field.
Thanks, Bernadette.
Thanks, Kevin, for the question.
Any other questions or comments for Bernadette?
No, not that I can think of. I'm really glad that you guys came in and stuck around and gave me some questions.
Well, I have a question. It's like, I just want to give the attendees a chance to ask a question.
Go for it.
Thanks so much for all that information. And something I think you already kind of touched on this, but something that kind of popped up in my head was just, um, you know, I guess I think it's because you had said that you're a dental hygienist, and so well, how can librarians, how can we leverage um, our subject expertise and some of that ethical reasoning to really complement AI's capabilities, right? But at the same time, kind of like mitigating its limitations, like with bias and misinformation. Like, how can we leverage our expertise, but at the same time?
No, that's a good question. It's a complex question.
Sorry.
No, I like it. It's sort of like one of those things where we got to be like, well, is it depend on how much information and how much experience that the individual has? Is it going to come down to that a lot of the time?
Hmm.
Like how you know how to leverage your skills? Like in the clinical world, I'll tell you, like a new graduate, they graduate from dental hygiene knowing a lot of the things, they've passed all the boards, they've taken all the tests, but they still have a lot to learn about patient care. So
Hmm.
it's the same thing in the library world where you could have someone who's always been an archivist for a really long time and never been in the digital aspect for a while. And so coming into that, you wonder what can they bring to the table? I think the thing we can always bring to the table is our curiosity and our willingness to sort of learn more about it. Because a lot of times people don't want to learn more. We just get tired. You just want to, I don't want to know anymore. I don't want to have to learn something new. So getting over that hurdle, and I think as in the library world, we're all kind of like that. We're all curious. We all want to know a lot about a lot of things. And so maybe our skill for curiosity is something we can bring to the table to
Hmm.
want to learn more.
Well, thank you for that, Bernadette. And I see that we have another question in the Q&A. Sean asked, how would you improve the language used by the AI? Would you add better dictionaries, etc.?
Mm. This question is important because it comes back to the verbiage that um I had a huge issue with when I was coming into my master's, learning about the difference of specific language in the sense of if you're an expert in one section and you're going to research something, you know the verbiage to use to get the answer that you need. You have the specifics. Like you're a biologist, you know the right terms to use. You're a coder, you know the right terms to use. So in order to improve the overall language of AI, it's hard because again, it's only going to take what is pumped into it. And in that sense, improving the language would again improve our position. We would help decipher that language a bit more because we kind of, even though all of us have our specialties, we're all kind of generally trained on language in the sense of our English language, our verbiage, our cataloging, metadata. That's all kind of ingrained in us. So improving the language and the vocabulary of AI would be tricky, but it would be a lot easier if you had someone to decipher it with you. I mean, putting in a dictionary, I think they've already done that actually, but we couldn't do it with sort of like a slang or something like that because those terms change all the time. And they are strange and funny at the same time. But if we could do that, that would be great. But the algorithm would have to be able to progress to learn to adapt to the new slang of it. But again, that comes back on us. So we would hear the slang, we would know, transfer it to the formal word, and then help with the research. So I don't know any other way than that.
Great. Alrighty. Let's see. Hopefully we were able to answer everybody's questions. Um, and just double check, nothing in chat. All right. Do you have any last minute words for us, Bernadette?
Just try to stay strong out there, guys. I know our world right now is very complicated with the politics of everything. And like people like Angela going through issues where people are pushing back on AI. It's a tool to use. Don't let it scare you. Use it as a weapon. And they said the same thing about the Ford Model T when the first car came out. It's a weapon of mass destruction. But from the Ford Model T, we've got planes, we've got spaceships, we've got cruise ships. We evolved from this weapon of mass destruction to a tool. So I think anything can be a good thing or a bad thing. It just depends on how you use it. So good luck, everybody.
All right. Well, um, thank you so much, Bernadette. That was such a great conversation that we had, and I really enjoyed listening to your presentation. It's really helped me think through, myself as a subject librarian, and how, I really need to be the go-to expert, right, for understanding good information, finding reliable information. And I think that's where, keeping the human, the
Mm.
human in the art in this conversation is so important. All right, so without further ado, I thank you so much, everybody, for coming. And I hope that you enjoy the rest of the Gale conference.
Have a good week, everybody.